Well, hey everybody, we're back for the final segment of our Q&A. And we've got just a few more questions.
Hey, you in the back, wake up!
Are y'all awake? Wait, no, I think that guy is asleep back there.
He's up. Hey, somebody pop him on the head.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for hanging with us, and thanks for again submitting the questions. And if we miss anything, feel free to put them down in the comments, and we'll try to answer those. I think as you've seen both with our camera work and our trying to answer questions, we don't do this for a living.
We're having a good time.
We're having a good time with it. All right. So next on the list,
We're having a good time.
we're having a good time. Gear.
Gear.
I think you saw some of the gear videos. I know I did one during the hike, and Joe did a good set of them after the hike.
So I think that when it came to our fears, which ones did we pack?
Yeah, you've heard
That's
the
a
term
great
"you
question.
pack your fears," and what that means is that you end up carrying more stuff to compensate for the fact that you're afraid of something, or fearful or have anxiety around something.
And we met Carol. We told you about her in one of the videos, and she'd packed a sled. I think she got rid of it on day 3.
Day 2, day 3, something like that.
So packing my fears, having done the AT, that taught me more about packing my fears than the PCT did. But when it came to packing my fears on the PCT, for me, it was probably a little too much clothing, but not too bad there. My biggest thing was around food. I would carry too much food, and it was evident. I'd get at the end of that segment that we were going to do, and I'd have way too much food, which it's not a bad thing because it helps you in case of an emergency, but you curse yourself because you're carrying
all that extra weight.
You're carrying that extra weight, and then you're trying to give it away during the segment. Hey, you want some of these?
You can always tell a true through hiker, hey, you want some of my food?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get rid of their weight. Yeah. But in fact, it was always we kind of made a little game out of it where the best thing you could do is to roll into your next town with maybe one Cliff Bar left.
Yep, one Cliff Bar
You've eaten
left.
everything, and all you've got is one little Cliff Bar left. You did a good job of playing in it, and thank God you didn't have an emergency where you had to stretch it out.
We didn't have that problem early on in the through hike, but towards the end it became much more common that you'd be in that last day or whatever, and you'd be saying, man, I hope you'd be eating it, trying to eat everything.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, it's like I'd eat everything I had, just because I was trying my best to pump in as many calories as I could toward the end. Mm-hmm. So my fears were really around the cold, and that really came down to probably having more clothes than I needed to. I talked about having long johns, uppers and lowers. I had another long sleeve 250 Smart Wool.
Did you have your mittens when you started out?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I was really afraid of just being cold, and for the most part, I did use everything, particularly when we got up in Sierra, and we had some very cold nights. But ultimately, I probably had more than I needed. I could have gotten by without some of the things, but I erred on the side of safety at least in my mind, from an anxiety level standpoint. But I think other than that,
I don't think
good
with during our experiences, there was never a time for us when we thought we're in danger because it's gotten too cold.
Yeah.
I think it did mean we didn't feel cold, but we never felt like we were in any danger.
Yeah, never felt like I was on the edge of hypothermia or anything like that. In the past, and particularly when we were doing the AT, and just as we learned kind of initial hiking and moving forward, water would be an anxiety level.
Yeah.
Where we started out carrying way too much water. I remember one of the first hikes, backpacking trips I ever did, I carried 4 liters of water. And if you're familiar with liters of water, they're 2.2 pounds each. So I had almost 10 pounds or 9 pounds of weight. And then you quickly learn that I don't need to carry that much. And you also quickly learn to become very dependent upon far out or cut hooks. And looking at the comments, looking at the water sources, and planning your day. Because we had some long water carries on the PCT.
Yeah.
But you could plan it by looking at the comments saying, and thank you to everybody that would put comments saying, yep, it's still flowing, or nope, it's dry.
There's still water at the water catch and things like that. It was really helpful.
Because then you could plan to either carry, enough. A lot of times all I would carry is maybe a liter. If I knew I've got another water source in 10 miles.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, those are things that you just kind of learn as you go. You start out with what it takes to make you feel comfortable, but be prepared to learn and grow and give some of those things up as you become more proficient at what you're doing.
Yeah, and on the the big three trails, PCT, AT, and CDT, just living off the crowdsourcing data out of far out, that's so helpful because now you have the experiences of other people there for you to see what's going on. So you shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have a problem.
The only other thing I will say is that don't be on the other side of it, where you'll see a lot of people that are into ultralight backpacking, or they think they want to be, and they're just carry minimal things. They don't really have what they need to be safe. If everything went perfect, they might be okay.
Yeah, they're not ready for the kind of outlier events of like the weather turning really bad on
Exactly.
you, getting stuck for days, getting really cold.
And we've run into several people like that on our days on the trails where they didn't have what they needed, whether it be enough food or they didn't have the right gear. You didn't have enough warm weather gear. And that's the worst thing you can do. Now, for people that are really good hikers and have been doing it a long time and they've kind of worked their way into an ultralight mode, it's great. Most of those know where their limits are and they know what to do about it.
Yeah.
But the worst thing you can do is jump out there and say, well, I'm going to start off ultralighting and not really know, okay, well, what are you going to do if? You want to keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
And anyways, little side tangent.
Yeah. That's an important one because you got to know your limits. Let's see. They were asking. One of the other questions was how much did our packs weigh? And so I hesitate to say what my base weight was because that's the thing that kept changing.
Yeah.
I think I talk about it in my gear video a little bit, but just I guess as a rule of thumb, if I was carrying 5 days worth of food, and when we were carrying the winter gear and the bear canister, ice axe and crampons and all that sort of stuff, I think I was at about 32 with 5 days worth of food. And then when we got kind of into the warmer stuff and I've been able to shed a lot of those things, then it was probably more like with 5 days food, I might be down around 25 or something like that, in that range. But then also you start getting used to carrying that much weight, so then the comfort items I might start to carry some that I wasn't carrying before, the can of Pringles and things
the Doritos on the back of the pack, but yeah, and then the other thing, keep in mind, we both mentioned the amount of weight that we lost. I lost 45 pounds, which was more than my pack weight. So as time went on, I'm losing weight, and that kind of helps offset a little bit of the pack weight. But I was very similar to Joe. I think our worst was coming out of Kennedy Meadows, where we were both carrying 10 days of food, and I think we were up around 45.
Yeah, and I put mine on the scale there. I think it was 45.
Yeah, and that was painful. But most of the time it was in that low 30s, and toward the end maybe in the upper 20s. So, but again, pack weight will vary depending on where you're at in your progression of hiking.
Yeah, and in those pack weights, that was also carrying the water that we needed to start with as well. So you always got a pound or two of that in there as well. So.
Yeah, so I mean, when you talk base weight, you don't include your water and food and all that, but it's hard not to include that.
Yeah.
When you're talking through it. But anyways, the big thing is making sure you have what you can, be safe, and buying the things you can afford. There's no doubt you can buy a lot of lightweight gear. But it costs a lot of money when you work your way up into that.
It does.
And sometimes it's tough to jump right into that.
You get some of these young studs that might not have the old guy's bank account, and they're carrying a lot more weight, and they're blowing by you.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so
what's up?
All right, what else was on there?
Did we carry bear spray?
No.
No.
Did not.
I think on the AT, I had this kind of like something that you would carry just for personal protection mace. I figured that'd probably work on a bear. It's like almost the size of one of those breath things. And I carried it, but I was always worried that, what if it was in the, safety off position, and for some reason it went off.
Or you went facing the wrong way.
Yeah, you faced it the wrong way. But did not carry them. I own bear canisters, but I've only carried them a couple times. But
I think the only time, I think the only time I'd really think about carrying this would get into grizzly country. I don't know. We didn't carry it on the AT, but
we see people carrying it.
You see people carrying. There's nothing wrong with that.
I was out on the AT 2-3 weeks ago, I did that video with my cousin. And we saw several people that had their bear canisters.
Bear spray.
Sorry, yeah, bear spray.
Well, I'm still in that thing that you just hike with somebody that's slower than you, or use that trekking pole to the back of the knee thing, then you run, and then it's, that's what partners are for. They sacrifice themselves.
Yeah, it's that you're killing me. It adds a new meaning to that word. You're killing me.
So, anyways, other than that, again, what you saw with our gear videos, I think we were pretty happy with what we had, pretty dialed in. There were things I could have done to lighten my load, and I made the conscious decision I didn't want to do that. And both on standpoint of from the money aspect as well as the comfort level. One of the things, we bought new packs for the PCT. We had the what's our brand again?
Hyperlight.
Hyperlight, yeah, Hyperlight. And the good packs, but what we found, at least what I found for me, is above about 32, 33 pounds, they don't carry as well. You're feeling a lot of the load on the shoulders. It's hard to really get things adjusted. Whereas on the AT, I had my old Osprey pack, and it was a workhorse. Of course, it weighed, about 3 pounds more than my Hyperlight. So it's a sacrifice that I made, but there were things like, I might go back to a pack that carries some of this bigger weight a little easier. I say that I probably won't. I'll just try to keep my weight down. And I won't have any 45-pound carries out of Kennedy Meadows in my pack. But anyways, those are things come down to comfort and cost. All right, what do we got left here, Joe?
See, I think we touched on future hikes in our announcement video, but future hikes, we're of course finishing the PCT, the CDT. Probably, if anything was to ever happen with that, would just be section hikes. I can know for me, there's no through hike in my future. I plan to stay happily married, and that would mean I can't go do that one.
Yeah, it was interesting when we met an individual the other day, Terry, and one of the questions, there's the wind.
There's the wind!
Get a little closer here. Yeah. One of the questions was, how do you convince your wife to go let you hike for 6 months? And first thing is just annoy the heck out of them.
Yeah.
No, that's a tough one. And, even when you're retired, there's still so much going on in life. It's tough to be away from home for 6 months with everything happening. And
but if you can do it,
do it. Just
but you
got to be able to do it to where you can feel comfortable about leaving it behind for 6 months.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is get on trail and be constantly thinking and worried about everything that's going on back on the home front. And again, thank God we both have very, very understanding wives from a standpoint of wasn't as comfortable for them, but in the sense that they were very supportive in the sense of, hey, yeah, go do it. And I felt very good that things were okay back on the home front.
When we got home, the locks had not been changed.
That was an important thing.
We're thinking we both have a vision that we'd like to do the Colorado Trail at some point in time.
Do some smaller ones.
Pinhoti, BMT, just some different things. But it's like you put them on the list, and then you don't know what life's going to deal you anyhow. So one trail at a time.
Right. And it's really hard to it's hard to look too far out in the future with where we are in our lives. But
but I've got Colorado has a special place in my heart since I lived out there for a lot of years, and it's beautiful. Been on it at different points, but definitely want to go do that.
So there was a question about cost. What's the cost of through hiking? And this will vary widely for everybody. One of the things that was nice for us in the sense that we're retired, that financially we could afford to do some things of staying in hostels or hotels or whatever we need to. We met somebody, and I remember it was on the AT or PCT that said, you retirees can buy your way out of trouble. It's like, yeah, kinda. If the weather gets really bad and you want to go spend a couple days in town, you could do that. It's to go buy nice meals.
So I don't know if I really want to. I don't even know if I could tell you what it cost me because I wasn't on the tight budget and didn't track it. But I know I spent a lot more than a typical hiker would. Just as kind of an example, we had so many more zeros than what we planned on because of the weather and the snow.
Right.
And we'd be in these towns, and then there were situations where, yes, could we have gone and tried to find a grocery store and buy all our stuff and make our breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And we would usually, we might eat breakfast there, but usually we'd go out to lunch and treat ourselves, or we'd go out to dinner.
Lunches.
And eat 2 lunches. And I tell you,
the
the
brewery and
hit the brewery, and
Yeah.
the food was a lot more expensive than
Yeah.
in 21 on the AT when
It
we did
was.
that. I was just kind of shocked. One time we were in Bishop, at one of the little places we had breakfast, and I remember he ordered an orange juice and I ordered a glass of milk. And I think your orange juice was almost $7,
almost
and my
$7 for
glass of
orange
milk
juice.
was $5.
Oh, my
And I'm
goodness.
thinking it doesn't even have any
Yeah.
adult beverage mixed in with it. So
Yeah.
we're like, my gosh. And
It's like we were at Idlewild. There were a couple other hikers that stayed outside of town, or stayed near the PBC, the
oh yeah, that I know what you're talking
Paradise Valley.
about. Yeah.
And we went in Idlewild and had a cabin for 2 nights. So those are the kind of things that we could do that. And then the other thing is we took that break, so we flew back home and then flew back out.
Yep.
So it really is hard to say exactly what to expect from a through hike standpoint. We spent more than what you would normally spend.
Yeah.
But I think for somebody out there, I think you hear the terms of $1,500 to $2,000. I would say it's probably on the $2,000 a month level with the way prices were and everything out there.
Yeah. Easily.
And you could probably you could really skimp and maybe get it down to $1,500, but I don't think you could get much lower than that. Not with the food costs. I mean, resupplies usually were $100 a week.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Easily.
Yeah. So.
And you can work harder at some of the Trail Magic and free shuttling and a bunch of things. And we had a lot of people do some good things for us and take care of us that didn't cost us a dime and stuff, but we also spent money that other people might not have spent.
Right.
But, so I guess it's really, you hike your own hike and you create your own plan that you want to spin to and make it work for you in that respect.
Right.
It'll work out. So if you really want to get into trying to understand what your costs will be, I'm the wrong guy to ask.
But the other thing is that for hotels in particular, if you can find people to share it with, it makes all the difference in the world. I know a lot of times for us, we had 3 or 4 people in a hotel.
My cousin would just go, "Joe, are you out of your mind?" I go, "What?" He goes, "There's like 4 of you in the hotel room. One of you sleeping on the floor." And it's like, well, we just needed a place. That's all we needed.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't too fancy with that. I mean, and the reality is sleeping on a Florida hotel is, almost better than sleeping in your tent on the floor.
Well, in the sense that there's a bathroom nearby.
Exactly,
but
there's a bathroom and the
where
temperatures were controlled. Yeah,
there is something beautiful about a tent.
Oh, there is.
Is that it's like having your own room. Now it's a
Exactly.
small room, but you can have your gear explosion. There's stuff everywhere, and you're in your
You
tent.
wear whatever you want to wear or not.
Yeah, yeah, depending on how cold or hot it is,
Exactly.
and so
Exactly.
that was.
But trying to share costs is a big thing, both in hotel rooms
Yeah.
as well as looking at shuttles. If you have to pay for a shuttle, it's nice to have multiple people that can help you cover that. So there's a lot of ways that you can save money out there. Again, instead of doing zeros in town, you can do Neros, where you camp close to town, go in resupply, and then get out the right after you resupply, go out and camp, out on the other side of town.
Yeah, you just go in, you get a shower, you do your laundry, you get food, and you get out.
Yeah.
And
So depending on where you are and in your income or financial situation,
or what you want out of it.
Exactly,
We
yeah.
kind of enjoyed having a shower, taking our time, and so.
and enjoying some of the towns, which kind of leads into one of the questions of what were some of our favorite places. And we were talking about this before. That's really hard to say.
Yeah, and
There
it's hopefully you can hear me over the wind, but we get that a lot of, and for me, I kind of this philosophy I tried to get in the way. I sort of said, I don't want to say favorites really, because it would tend to think that something is demonstrably better or different than something else, and it's just the PCT experience as a whole was so fantastic. The towns, the people, the hostels, and friendly folks everywhere. And it's just so to say, what was the friendliest and stuff, I can't wrap my head around that, because it's that whole thing in its totality was good, and things were different, and not necessarily better or worse, but just different and offered a different experience. But I did want to think, the one thing I thought of that was somewhat unique to what we experienced elsewhere, just because of the way it was approached, was that for me was the Washington Alpine Club, because when you go there, right, everybody gets a place that they can sleep and stay, and you can do laundry, But they provide the food, but you have to provide the labor. So you
Yeah.
have to either clean the showers or you're cleaning up after the kitchen. So it's just kind of almost a commune
Right.
sort of feel to it. And then there, we were there at a heat wave, and the place where the men were bunking was up top, and it was hot. So it was not one of the better night's sleep I had, but just that experience of being around great people,
Exactly.
the camaraderie and the food and just amazing.
And then we had some great trail magic. And you know, we had a couple that offered to let us stay at their cabin. Annie and Jerry.
Yep.
Again, that was extremely special, particularly since there were some other hikers there as well, and we just had a great time with that. And then Mark,
And Lori.
They
were smart enough not to have us stay at their house.
But just what they did for Hazel and Hazel's friend when they were hurt. But yeah, I mean, we went through some great towns, and you know, Julian and Wrightwood and Big Bear, and boy, there's just we got some great memories of each of those and things that happened. What the circumstances were.
So that whole
Yeah.
experience was just phenomenal. So I guess I can't have a favorite that'd be like, we could sit here for 2 days just going through story after story of the great experience.
But you know, the big thing is, you know, again, look ahead and see what each town has to offer, and figure out if that's something you want to partake in, or you know, if you want to spend some time there. You know, sometimes, you know, the place like Julian, where you can go to Mom's Pie and get a free pie and coffee, and you know, those are the kind of things. Yeah, I want to make sure I stop there and do that. Again, what we started out with, everybody was friendly. I don't think we ever ran into anybody that was grumpy or mad to see a hiker. Or it was incredible. So.
Sorry, I flashed on something I can't talk about. But all right, so another question was, did we think we nailed it from the timing perspective of when we decided to do our hike? And I think we could just say no. Absolutely not. Seeing as we were post hole in day 3 at Mount Laguna, but it was, you know, and so it was a totally off the charts, outside the norm type of year. And even when we came back in the Sierra after our break, and that was in early June, normally that would have been like primo time. There's a wind again. But the snow was so epic. There, I don't think for a lot of people there wasn't a great time really to go. And here it comes. We're holding on. Joe Cantori with the weather, and the wind's coming in. Yep, that wind farm is cranking.
Those fans must be on high out in California. They're making it all the way out here.
Yeah. All right, I think we're back.
Yeah, I think we're back.
So timing wise, our experience couldn't give you a clue of when the best time is.
You know, and then the whole permitting system, really, it's very difficult to get the exact times that you want. But last year was just an anomaly. So it's really hard to say. I think if, you know, we're looking forward, we're going to go back in August, and we're hoping that things will be calm. We're hoping that the snow will be, for the most part, gone up in the Sierra, so we can see what, you know, those look like without, or the mountains and everything look like without snow.
We've seen pictures and heard stories, and what we saw was phenomenal. But this will be a nice change up to see it.
I heard there's an actual trail through there.
And lakes.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Anyways, I don't know if there's an optimal time. You know, most people will say they want to try for the month of April. You know, again, all depends on what the weather's doing.
What the weather's doing, and
all right. Well, I think we can cut it here, and I think that was. Is there any other ones?
Well, we wanted to talk about. They said, how would we rate or rank the sections? And I think we could say the Sierras is the most spectacular of all of it.
Yeah.
And then, but the time depends on when you go. We saw some of the most incredible, super blooms coming up through the desert, and stuff like that, because of the time of year that we chose, and
as wet as it was that early in the season,
sunsets and sunrises and everything else, and it had its own special beauty. And then going through Oregon and Washington, they all had just beautiful sections. So they all bring something different, but you know, being up above tree line like you get in the Sierras. That's just a hard thing to beat.
Yeah.
Wherever you are.
And then, you know, it was tough going through Oregon with the burn areas. I mean, both from a standpoint of some of the heat that we were battling, but also from a mental aspect. It was really sad to see just the burnt forest like it was. In some areas, you remember, they were just completely devastated, like you're walking on the moon.
Yeah.
And on one hand, it was great to experience that and see what that really means when people talk about that. But on the other side, it's like realizing those forests won't come back for not in our lifetime.
Yeah, not in our generation.
Yeah, so you hated to see that part of it, but it was all part of the adventure.
Circle of life, baby.
Exactly. So, all right, well, I think we'll end it there. Oh, wait, I keep wanting to end it.
Keep on. I'm not going to let you. We need to,
Oh, yeah. So if you remember way back when, we decided that we were going to try to monetize the channel, and we got kind of caught up in the new law that had come about, and the fact that we had asked about it and talked to Ranger about it meant we really couldn't do it at the time. But what we found out is we could do it after the fact. So we went ahead and turned on the monetizing of the channel. If you've watched any of our, gone back and watched any of the video, you'll see this commercial pops up. And to date, we've made about, I think, $500, and we just recently wrote a check to the Alzheimer's Foundation for the $500. And we still got some money coming in, so we're going to continue to donate that out to Alzheimer's. And if any of you have the desire to make your own donation to Alzheimer's, please do that. It's a worthwhile cause. Both Joe and I have, and our families have been impacted by it, so we can relate to what it's all about and what a terrible disease that is. So again, if you've got the ability to do that, to contribute, please do. But also have people watching the videos and just know that the money we're making is going to go toward that foundation.
Yeah. So we've turned the monetization back on for everything, and actually even did it on the AT, right?
Yeah.
So the ones that we did from the AT from 3 years ago now, we've turned that monetization on. So whatever the clicks and whatever it does out there that drives anything, those come in, and we're just gonna keep writing checks and sending that stuff off to the Alzheimer's org.
Yeah, and we know we're not making a ton of money on this, but it's the thought of, hey, we're going to take whatever we can and give it back.
Yeah, if it was only about getting money to them, well, then we just wouldn't have gone. And we'd instead of spending that money on the trip,
I got to say, yeah,
we just write them checks.
Yeah, write a check. But anyways, we appreciate people watching. Just know that just what you're doing by just watching makes a big difference in us being able to contribute to the Alzheimer's Foundation.
And it's been great to see the comments from people when they first found out we were doing that. Just it warmed our heart to see that people were cheering for us to get that done.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
All right, well, with that, we will cut it off. Again, apologize. We know this has been 3 long videos, but we wanted to finally fulfill what we said we were going to do several months ago.
Does that mean we can go have lunch now?
I think we can go have lunch.
I think we can go have lunch now.
Have something on a tortilla.
I had something on a tortilla day before yesterday.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, actually,
right.
I
I'm
did.
thinking maybe something on a barbecue bun.
I think you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all take care and stay tuned. We're going to try to be doing some hikes, getting ourselves ready for August, and we'll try to bring you along.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Happy trails.
Happy trails.